Hello and welcome, friends. My name is Lynn, and today I'm crafting with Emily Moore Designs. I'm actually going to make my very first moth. This is from the Betty set. And what I'm going to do is attempt to make the moth's wings flutter up and down. And so to do that, I've got some beautiful pattern paper here that's been cut to 4 inches wide by 5 1/4 tall. I just quickly kind of marked the center and using a circle die just cut out a little thumb notch at the bottom. We're going to have a slider going through that little thumb notch, and when you pull on that slider, it's going to make the wings flap up and down. That's the goal anyhow. So what I've done is I die cut the main body of the moth, and I actually die cut it twice. Once to keep in full, and then the second time what I did was I die cut it, but then I just trimmed away the parts where the two wings are. That way I can still have gold behind those open areas of the wings. Now this is going to be our mechanism, and it kind of looks like an upside down hangman, but missing the arms and head. So it's kind of just the legs and held together with some brads. So my pull tab is I think it's 1/2 inch wide, and those leg sections are 3/8 of an inch wide, and I have two sections that are 1 inch long and then two sections that are 1 1/4 inch long. And I positioned where I want my moth to be, and I'll go ahead and punch a 1/8 inch hole basically where I want the wings to start rotating from. And so as you can see with that piece that I have off to the side, the actual mechanism, those are all 1/8 inch holes as well, and these mini brads are really great for that. Now what I'm going to do is cut a half circle, and to cut a half circle you just need to do like a little bit of a partial die cut. So I basically only covered half of the die with my top cutting plate, and I want it to be the lower half of the circle. And so it's going to look a little something like this, where you have it partially cut through. And what I'm going to do is actually, when the die went through, the edge of the metal made a little bit of an emboss, which is perfect because what I'm going to do is cut right on that emboss and just create a little bit of kind of a slit, but a half semicircle slit. So it doesn't have to be perfect. Basically what you want, the reason why we want to do this is I'm going to actually pull the legs of our interactive component through that slit. And so it helps to remove some cardstock so that it will move a little bit better. So I'm going to do a little bit of a dry fit here where I poke the legs through, and I'm going to put a brad through the two legs and the pattern paper, and I'm just going to test. So this should move nice and smoothly, and you can see from the back, this is how it looks from the back. It's kind of like a little frog doing a little bit of a leapfrog. And so those leg pieces, as I mentioned, one of them is 1 inch long and the other is 1 1/4 inch long. And you just kind of, if you think about it at like your own legs, where the knees are, that's where one of the joints or one of the brads is, and the brad that's holding it to the pull tab, that's kind of your waist, if you want to think about it like that. So what I'm going to do now, here I did make a little bit of a modification off screen. I glued down the body of the moth, but what I did end up doing was cutting away a little bit from the body, because it overlaps with that slot that we cut, and you don't want that body piece to overlap the slot. So you'll see it in a moment, but what I'm gonna do here though is a little bit more dry fitting, because what's gonna happen is also, I found this did not work very well either. Initially, what I did was I put gold, little gold circles with, that 1/8 inch hole cut through. The reason why I did that was because I thought the white might stand out. So if I put gold behind here, maybe I thought it would be a little bit less, it would stand out a little bit less. Like, you would have less of a chance of seeing the mechanism. And so it kind of hides it a little bit. But the mirror card that I have, as with most mirror cards, it's really slick. So when I tried to attach the wings to those gold circles, it really did not work very well. It would have looked nice, but the wings just did not want to stick. So at the end of the day, I did actually pull those off, but I'll still talk through what I did, because just skip putting the gold, and then the rest you can do. So what I've done is sort of done a little bit of a dry fit, where I put the legs through the mechanism. The brad is there as well. And what you want to do is attach your wings. Make sure your pull tab is in the default position, so pushed all the way up, and you want the wings to basically start out matching the body of the moth. So that lower layer that we put down initially, you kind of want to line up the wings so that it matches that. And each of these legs that we have will have a wing attached to it. And so as you pull, it's going to pull those legs, and that's what's going to move the wings up and down. And so you can see here, my wings are starting to slip and slide all over. And I even gave it a little bit of time, but I wasn't really patient enough, and I couldn't wait long enough for it to dry completely. And so ultimately, at the end of the day, I pulled those gold discs off. And then what I did was I just glued the wings directly to the legs. And that worked so much better. So here it is attached directly to the legs, and in the position that it needs to be when you first receive the card. And now what I want to do is line the back of this panel with some foam. Because remember, I'm using brads, and the head of the brad is actually, these are mini brads, but it's still pretty dimensional. So you're going to need a little bit of foam behind here in order to make sure that your those brads don't crush the cardstock below it. And you also have to kind of be careful where you put adhesive, where you put your foam, because you want to make sure that as you're placing your foam, that your mechanism can still move all the way when it's closed and when it's fully extended. So here you can see when it's closed, it bumped into the foam. So you don't want the foam to restrict the movement of your mechanism. And I made sure at the top to put it kind of close, because or not the top, it's actually the bottom, but where the pull tab is, I want to create a little bit of a track, so that as you're pulling this, you pull it straight up and down, as and it doesn't kind of wiggle left to right. And so otherwise, you're not going to get a really nice movement. And I like to be generous with my foam. So you can see I kind of squeezed in foam wherever I could. But the only rule is really just make sure to keep moving your mechanism so that it can fully articulate and move back and forth. And so here it is on my actual card base, which I already lined with some black cardstock. And that's pretty much our mechanism complete. So once you have that, then you can kind of complete your decoration. And mostly with the moth, the only piece that's left is the body. And the body will help to cover some of that open area of our mechanism. So you just have to be careful to only put, I use some foam because the wings have to slide behind this, but you want to make sure that you don't glue anything down to anything that needs to move, essentially. So those legs, the wings, you don't want to get any glue there. I basically just put a little bit of foam on the bottom portion of the body. And then the very last thing I'll do is add a sentiment. And this comes from this is the hi, hey, hello word dies sentiment. And this is the small version. There's a second version that's larger. But I love this scripty font. And I love that the words also have their shadow layer as well. And I forgot, you do probably want to add a little bit of an arrow or some instructions so that your card recipient knows when they get this that there's an interactive mechanism, there's something that they can do, and how to make the wings move. And so all you have to do is pull on the pull tab and the wings flap up and down. Really down and then back up. So this is a really fun interactive card. Even though the wings weren't necessarily designed to operate this way, I hope you can see that it's really fun to try to take dies like these and sort of adapt them and make them work the way that you want and add something a little bit fun, a little bit unexpected. Thank you so much for checking out my video today. And I also want to say a big thank you to Emily Moore Designs because they are a VIP sponsor of the upcoming Paper Escape Winter Retreat coming this October. So more on that soon. Thank you so much. And until next time, happy crafting and have a fabulous day. Bye.